We have so many more things now. And the industry got so much bigger in terms of number of users. So I think today we probably have a few 100 million users, like somewhere between, I would say 3 to 800 million users around the world using crypto. It's not going to disappear overnight. But I worked in Tokyo, I worked in New York, and then I went back to Shanghai to work for a few years there. I worked in Singapore. When you're traveling like back and forth between different countries, and then I came across Bitcoin. I was like, wow, this thing solves a lot of problems that I had before, but didn't have solutions. I didn't even realize there were problems because I didn't have solutions. Anytime I moved from Tokyo to New York, right? I tried to transfer my money. I actually still have money stuck in my Japanese bank account because I just couldn't transfer. I just like the fee for transferring them was not worth the amount of money that I had in there. So when I go to Japan, I actually still have a Japanese a bank card that I can withdraw like a couple $100s out. So when you live between different countries, you find out that the financial system doesn't work very well across borders. Even for like your after-tax money, your legit money, and not much money. And so when I came across Bitcoin, that's when I realized all the problems that I had before. So I got the concept of Bitcoin quite quickly, just because of the international experience, and also I understood the technology quite quickly. I was always in finance, so so all of those things helped. 2013. So Bobby Lee and Ron Cao was two of the guys that told me about it. So I remember it pretty clearly. Yeah. I think it took about 6 months for me to fully decide to quit my job, sell my house, get into crypto, get into Bitcoin. But it took 6 months. Back then there wasn't as much material to read about and learn about.
Exactly.
I did read the Bitcoin white paper first, and then talk to other people, trying to find bitcointalk.org was the forum back then where people go and talk. And so if you do a Google search, you'll end up on that page. And then trying to get through just took about 5-6 months to understand it. But the real tipping point was, okay, after I understood the technology, I was like, okay, this could work, but it needs a community. So where's the community? So I booked a flight from to Las Vegas, and attended a Bitcoin conference back then. So that was in December 2013. The same crew that you hear about today was there. But at that time, when you read about Bitcoin in the news, it's always about this website called Silk Road, all the terrorists or criminals, etc. But at that conference, it was a bunch of literally teenagers. Vitalik was probably 18, 19 at that point. It was a bunch of it was a bunch of kids, it was a bunch of geeks. Wow. And I remember somebody teaching me about a specific coin. I wouldn't name it now. That with this coin, back then, you had to set up different gateways to transfer, etc. The process was a little bit complicated. When they helped me to do the demonstrations, they used my laptop, they created a wallet for me, they transferred some coins to me. When I was done, I was like, oh, let me transfer these coins back to you. The guy says, oh, no, just use that to teach the next guy. I looked at it, at the time it was like $300 worth of coins. It wasn't that much, but it wasn't a small amount either. It wasn't tiny. But the fact that, this is a bunch of kids, really young guys, technologists, geeks that didn't really care that much about money. They were just, trying to push this community forward. I was like, wow, okay, if this is the community, this is very different from the television, Silk Road, newspaper thing. So that after that conference, I said I'm gonna quit my job, sell my house. I'm in crypto. So it's pretty easy to meet everybody back then. And also for me, I have a couple considerations, right? So most people, based on what I described, they will think that's super high risk. But for me, I was like, okay, look, I worked for 10 years in the banking industry. If this thing doesn't work in 2 years, I can go back to the banking industry and get another tech job. You'll be decent. I'm pretty confident about that. And the other thing is, for me, when the internet was happening in 1999, I was basically, too young to catch that. Yeah. And with this thing, if the internet, I wasn't able to verbalize this until recently. But at the time, I sort of back in the back of my head, like today I would verbalize it as, if internet was just a technology for transferring information, this is a new technology for transferring value. This technology will have much more profound impact than internet. So I started Binance with a team. I already had a team of 10, 20 something guys together already,
Nice.
luckily from previous ventures. But the idea of a crypto to crypto exchange or just in general, the idea of a crypto exchange is not new, right? Almost everybody I meet in the crypto space wanted to start a crypto exchange at one point or another. So starting a crypto exchange is not a new idea. I had discussions about that in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, and then 2017. We said, okay, fine, we're going to launch this together with our team. I think it's not so much about running the exchange per se. I think most businesses today in crypto, we're still crypto's so new. We're basically just trying to provide access to crypto.
Exactly.
So, we do have a lot of resistance, man-made resistance to do this. Theoretically, this is a technology that anyone can use. But because it's a new industry, there are still a lot of nefarious scammers, bad players in this industry that gives a bad name. We need to fight that. There are projects that honestly fail, and they fail. Some of them have big failures, and that's not good either. So there's a few businesses that do well, and I think, but more importantly, there's so much money flowing around in this industry because it is an industry about money. It is an industry about values, about moving values. I believe we are one of the very few players that are actually not money driven. We protect users very, very carefully and very heavily. And over time, our user base understands that. Like, users are not dumb. In today's information flow, everybody gets it. So when we fight for users, when we fight for the industry, when we push adoption, and when we make decisions that clearly shows that we're not money driven. Like we remove trading fees on Bitcoin. And then we remove that on Ethereum. And those are two of our largest revenue streams. Those are the largest trading volume pairs. So when we make this type of decisions, the community gets it. So This is why I think that Binance is one of the most preferred platforms among traders that have access to it. And people follow me because I think I've become more famous because of Binance, obviously. So I think the fact that we have the strong values to protect our users is key. Yeah, so to be honest, crypto adoption happens with or without government endorsement, to be very frank. In countries where the government are very anti-crypto, we actually see some really high adoptions. It's just the banks don't work with crypto, and then there's peer-to-peer trading. The volumes are quite high, especially in some of those countries, because typically those countries have high inflation, etc. And also in those kind of countries, the government, the regulators don't have any data. They don't have data from the banks. They don't have data from transactions. It's actually less controlled. It's more wild. Whereas in countries like, where they adopt a very positive stance, and you can actually encourage the sort of the adoption happens above water and is much more clear. It's much safer for the consumers as well. So El Salvador is taking a huge lead in this. So I think we'll see that countries adopting this early, they will see the economic benefits very soon. So they will see them much earlier than the other countries. So I think in the next bull cycle, a year or so, we'll see those effects coming very, very clearly. I definitely see people using crypto a lot more than just speculating on it. In any new industry, there's always the first speculating factor. Even in stocks, right? So if you look at stocks, 90% of people who trade them are speculators. Only 10% are long-term shareholders. And if you look at the internet, back in the day, there was eBay stocks, there was, Yahoo, there was, people were trading on those stocks much more heavily than they use the internet. That's when I was teenager, early college time. So I remember those conversations. So I think in any industry, the speculative factor does come in before the rest of the industry develops. And it does take time to develop the use cases. But now, to be honest, we're seeing a very strong uptick on Binance Pay, Binance Card. Binance Card is one of the most demanded products that we have. And people actually just swipe the card, the merchants get fiat or whatever currency they want to choose to get. And the payers pay in crypto. And that adoption is going crazy. US is a very complex, government. You have so many senators, so many different regulatory agencies. we see that different people have different opinions, and US is a democracy, so people can voice their opinions, which is a fantastic place.
Absolutely.
Which is fantastic. So we see like certain senators which are very pro Bitcoin, which some are against it. That's good to see. But the thing that the US has is the innovation engine is still very strong, and the US has one of the best banking integrations towards crypto exchanges anywhere in the world. In the US, a crypto exchanges can, with the ACH protocol, they can deduct money from the user's bank account automatically each month if the user authorizes once. Maybe in Korea, they have something very similar, but in most other countries, they don't have that level of integration with banks. So US is ahead on some stuff. But there are different countries have different limitations. In the developed countries, you hear about it less. But I have people coming. I have 3 to 5 people coming to me each day, thanking me, say, "Look, it's easy. Thank you so much for everything you've done. I became out of poverty either by holding crypto or by holding BNB, or I was able to do my business because now I can accept crypto globally." You gotta understand that. For many people in certain countries, like a $300 per month income is a very good income. And they couldn't get that before, but now they can get it and they can feed their families. And they do that through crypto. So, and people who used to take them 3 days to pay a bill, to pay an electricity bill, now take them like 30 minutes to pay either through crypto, through a mobile, etc. Oh yeah, I'm way more bullish than I was 8 years ago. In 2013, 2014. 2013, 2014, there was just Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was like about the time was like max $1,000, but it was like $100 ish. It was a much higher risk for Bitcoin or crypto to disappear back then than now. Like 2017, we got like so many more tokens. We got Ethereum, we got other things. We got smart contracts. 2020, we got DeFi. Now we have NFTs, we have GameFi, we have Metaverse. We have so many more things now. And the industry got so much bigger in terms of number of users. So I think today we probably have a few 100 million users, like somewhere between, I would say 3 to 800 million users around the world using crypto. It's not going to disappear overnight.